All right, and Sergeant Lopez, you said this did start right around 6 p.m. at Sunset and Rosemont. Was there interaction between your officers and this guy? Did they talk? What was going on there?
No, I don't have any reason to believe that there was any contact with the police themselves outside of that activation, which is an electronic activation, which identifies, once we have the descriptors of the car and the officers identified it as the vehicle that was taken in that carjacking earlier this afternoon.
You know, Sergeant Lopez, we're looking at the pictures here and we see all the black and whites behind it, and we know it's a white car in front. But what's the make and model of this car? We haven't been tight enough that we can really make it out yet.
Yeah, all I have is a white two-door Honda.
It's a two-door Honda.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's more than we knew off the bat right there.
Is that a popular car in terms of cars that are targeted for theft?
Hondas are a popular car that are taken, correct.
For what? Resale purposes or chop shop?
Oh, chop shop, resale, joyriding, yeah, for all those reasons.
Well, at this point in time, are your officers just hoping that either he boxes himself in say, like a cul-de-sac in a residential area, or plane runs out of gas?
Correct. That is correct. We're hoping that he will either just give up on his own, or he will end up going to an area that he's not familiar with and may trap himself into an area there. At that point, we will utilize our resources and order him out of the vehicle. But we're always hoping that this will finish in a safe manner. But he's obviously at this point shows no intent to stop.
Well, even in a situation like this, if you were to have him stop at this point, walk us through what the procedure would be, considering the fact that he may have a weapon inside the car.
Yeah, we're obviously going to take it with extra precaution, with knowledge that there was a gun used when taking this vehicle. We're going to use all what we call a high-prone stop. We're going to obviously want to see his hands, turn the vehicle off, and then exit the vehicle, order anybody that might be hiding in that vehicle out, put them in a felony prone outside on the street or sidewalk, approach the vehicle cautiously, making sure there's nobody else hiding in the vehicle, and then take him into custody.
Now, you do intensive training for things exactly like this. Tell us a little bit about the training that you're going through. We understand that you've had new training procedures in recent years.
Well, the most new part is actually considered like the driving mechanisms of the pit maneuver, but as I indicated, this would not be a candidate for that. But the approach of the vehicle, there has not been that much change regarding, having the suspect exit the vehicle, seeing his hands, having him turn around, making sure there's no visible guns on him, then having him go in a prone position on the ground so we can safely approach the vehicle, and then safely, obviously our guns will be drawn at that time and take him into custody as safely as we can.
L.A. is sometimes referred to, L.A., Southern California, referred to as the car chase capital of the country. Are you seeing any increase or any change in the numbers in terms of that?
Not having the exact numbers in front of me, I can't say there's been an increase or decrease. I know recently in the last couple of days there has been a couple televised pursuits, but there has been a lull before that where we weren't seeing that many. So,
and I guess that leads to the next question, Sergeant Lopez. Once we broadcast something like this, like we did yesterday, do you see a spike in these types of things happening?
I can't say that it becomes popular because people are getting their 10 minutes of fame on television, but it could be a contributing factor. People see that they're getting that attention and they seek that out also. But I can't say definitively that there is a spike when we do see these televised.
Often when we're covering these, we always say, and the suspects never get away. I don't know why they continue to do this. Yeah. Can you give us an update at all on the suspect yesterday?
At this point, he was not captured that night, but we have a very strong indication of who he is. Eventually, some people, few, do get away the night of an incident like that, but very rarely do they go unidentified. And eventually, we will catch up with that guy. Once we secure locations where he hangs out, but he'll eventually be taken into custody.
He eventually ends up back with his family or something like that, and that's when you can get him at that point in time. And that really was yesterday shocking. We were talking about the chase, of course, from Arcadia that ended up in Pacoima. and he just jumped some fences and got lost in the shrubbery in people's backyards.
Correct.
That was, which was really rather stunning. And I know as an officer and as authorities, you have to set up a perimeter when they do that as quickly as possible, right?
Yeah, we try to lock down a suspect into a certain area with sufficient units, and then ultimately we like to request a dog, a canine, to come in and do the search. But what's is critical is that we lock him down into an area, and so the dog can locate him.
Does it amaze you when you see these things go on that people hear about them so quickly and they're out on the street either cheering people by or taking pictures or just trying to be caught up in sort of the ambiance of all of this?
Yeah, then that's the frustrating part is, and similar to this one, he's going in circles in the same area. So people are watching the news, listening to the radio. They're going to want to come out and watch what's going on or even know the suspect in some cases. And that is always makes our job a little bit harder when we have that kind of people out cheering these actions on like that. It's obviously not good for anybody.
You know, we have reported in the past about these chases that ended in a very bad way for innocent bystanders. Do you have new procedures in place that you follow these days?
Well, as I indicated earlier, as he's driving at a slow speed right now, we would just continue to pursue as long as it doesn't appear like he's endangering the surrounding traffic. But once he does pick up the speeds or he starts to hit vehicles that are blocking him in, we're going to definitely advise the airship to track the vehicle, and we will back off in hopes that he will make the right decision and stop or slow down on his own, but that's not always the case. Obviously, he's controlling his own actions at this time. We can only do so much.
This has to be really difficult for officers, especially considering it's such a congested area. There's so many people walking on the sidewalks here. Initially, when we saw this, he drove up and over the sidewalks. You know, I've seen him pass a number of schools. You see what appear to be students with backpacks on.
Correct. I mean, luckily it's 7 right now, but you're right. If it had been any earlier, around 3 o'clock, that area is a high populated area, lots of schools in that area, and extremely, that's when it becomes a lot more dangerous when we have that many people out there and people.
And he just passed another vehicle, one of your black and whites that was pointed the opposite direction.
Correct.
Just went by.
Yeah, I mean, we can't control what he's doing, but we have vehicles, police vehicles that are parallel in the pursuit, so should he stop, we can take him into custody quicker. But again, we can't control what he's doing, so he's just going in circles.
Sergeant Lopez, do you recognize this area here?
Yes.
Can you give us a location?
Yeah, that's the Rampart area. That's just west of the downtown area.
So he's still basically in the same area that this whole thing started in?
Same area. For the last, I would say, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, he's been circling in the same area, correct.
Do you notice that chase suspects oftentimes end up in familiar areas so that they can take certain streets that they know?
Correct. I mean, I think as human beings, we try to go to areas that we're familiar with, and if suspects can't find a way to get to where they need to get to, I think that might be human nature to do that. Many cases, they may be on a phone asking for assistance from family members or friends to help secure them when they ultimately try to leave the vehicle. But it's hard to know what's going on in his mind right now.
Let me ask you this, and you may not know the answer to this, but this is as you said, a two-door Honda here. If he had a full tank of gas, any guesstimates as to how long he could go like this?
Yeah, well, he's not at this point driving extremely fast. So if he had a full tank of fuel, he could be doing this for hours.
It'd be one long chase.
Exactly. Then as again, he has reportedly the car was taken with a gun. So we are going to be highly suspicious of trying to pit that vehicle, get too close to it. So if he continues to drive, we're just going to continue to pursue.
This fellow you suspect could be armed, very well armed. You believe, is a man that may have carjacked somebody this morning. Had this been, let's say, just a regular traffic stop, say for tinted windows or something like that, would you at this point in time have already called this chase off and just let him go because you're worried about, bystanders and stuff?
Yeah, of course, there's always a supervisor involved in a pursuit along with the watch commander who monitors the frequency, and if that's all we have at that time, that's a judgment call on their part, but we highly recommend and our supervisors that if we could catch him another day, and that's all we have, then go ahead and allow him to continue, and we would just discontinue the pursuit and try to catch him another day.
Do you ever look at this and wonder how he's managed to pick all the streets with no traffic out there? I mean, I'm amazed. I'm looking at traffic even on the other side here.
He obviously is familiar with that area, so he's probably as familiar with the area as the police are in that area. So he knows the streets to drive, I'm sure.
Is this Sunset he's on?
Honestly, I don't have it on TV right now, so I don't know what street he's on.
Well, let me ask you this. We're also seeing what appears to be a light, like a sun gun. Would that be coming from one of the police choppers?
Correct. It's getting nighttime right now, so I'm sure you're able to see the light that's on the helicopter.
Well, and for you, time is of the essence. Since we're going to have sunset here fairly soon, I would imagine it'd be much harder to get this guy at nighttime.
Obviously, it becomes a lot more dangerous for the officers involved when it does become night. We're unable to see his actions as clearly as it would be in daytime. So that's why it's so important we have that helicopter up above shining on the suspect point in the North Hollywood area. Officers in the Rampart area had an activation and an internal inside the car, a low jack activation, and they were able to locate and identify that vehicle. And when they attempted to pull that vehicle over, the vehicle fled. And at this time, they've been pursuing the vehicle for the last hour.
X-Chase has come to an end. Lucy, you look for a second, there you see the driver's side door open, that somebody got out
and fell to the ground.
Either fell down or was told to get down, face down.
Yeah.
I wonder if we can get
a tight shot or a tighter shot of what's going on right now. Because off the bat, it looked like the other car had come through. But look at all the personnel coming straight now toward the car. That car door, driver's door, is open. And remember, this is a man they believe could very well be armed from a carjacking this morning of that two-door Honda.
Okay, let's just see if we can figure out what's going on. Unfortunately, we've our chopper is up, but we've lost communications with Alex Calder here. So we're watching this as you do. And there you see the LAPD surrounding the car. There are two white cars there. So it makes you wonder if, as they were coming through the intersection,
did he hit that other car?
Did he hit someone else? He'd already hit someone early on in the pursuit. But this started about little after 6 o'clock this evening in the Westlake area.
Yeah, right at Sunset and Rosemont. And it's because they said that low jack beacon alerted a patrol car that had the capability of finding it. And they went after the guy, and he's been going around in circles ever since.
There you see two more vehicles just rolled up, what appeared to be black SUVs.
Yeah, the heavily armed black SUVs, most likely, armored cars. They have completely surrounded this guy. Apparently this morning, Sergeant Lopez says this suspect, a white male suspect with a baseball cap, that's only the only description they have, carjacked the owner of that two-door Honda, took off, and LAPD found him, within hours.
There seems to be a lot of movement on the corner here. We're going to try and get a location for you. Not sure if those are police officers. They look like they're in uniform. Yeah, it does look like officers there. And they have the vehicle surrounded. That's all we can say. It's a two-door white Honda.
And we had a report that the driver told police, "You're not going to take me alive." However, when we asked Sergeant Lopez about it, he said he hadn't heard of it.
Okay, so the location we do have, this is the corner of Beaudry and Wilshire. Beaudry and Wilshire. And this carjacking or this pursuit that started at 6 o'clock this evening appears to have come to an end here. You see all the black and white LAPD officers from Rampart. There you see someone. I thought it looked like it was someone with her hands behind their back, but not necessarily.
I think she's just a witness talking to police, probably asking them what's going on at this point in time.
Could be the witness. I hate to speculate here, but we don't have any other information other than the location. Could be someone who came out of one of those surrounding cars.
Yeah, that are trying to figure out what's happening and when they can leave at this point in time. And they're probably very nervous. This is in an area that's very crowded, a lot of people. And we saw a lot of spectators and bystanders getting out just to watch this go by and taking pictures.